This message might feel different from what you expected, and that unease rising in your chest is your first hint that you're ready to hear what your soul already knows. You came here hoping for reassurance, that they would come back, that the waiting would end, that the silence would finally break into reunion. But the universe has a different kind of gift for you. Sometimes, the most profound act of love isn't the promise of return, but the permission to let go. It's not the guarantee of reconciliation, but the blessing of closure. This isn't a call to hold on tighter, wait longer, or cling to a future that asks you to sacrifice your present. This is the moment that tells you, you've completed the lesson, and the door you thought closed on your heartbreak is actually opening to your freedom.
Not every goodbye is temporary, and not every silence needs to be filled. Some endings aren't pauses. They're final punctuation marks, necessary and complete, clearing the page so a new story can begin with ink that won't fade. You've been waiting for a sign, and here it is, arriving in a form you might not have expected, speaking a truth you've long feared to face. The universe doesn't always answer our prayers the way we ask. Often, it responds to the deeper prayer beneath the words, the one our soul whispered while our mind trembled in fear. Even as your heart pleaded for return, your soul was asking for freedom, and now those two prayers meet in this very moment. If you're ready to accept this truth, write "I am ready to hear truth" in the comments. Not every intense connection is meant to last forever, and the depth of your feeling doesn't determine the length of someone's stay.
Some people arrive in your life with the force of revelation, shaking the shaky foundations you've built, making you feel more alive in 6 months than you did in 6 years before them. Yet, they aren't meant to remain. They are teachers disguised as soulmates, catalysts wrapped in the language of forever, mirrors held up exactly when you needed to see yourself clearly, even if that clarity disrupted your comfort. They were never meant to be your destination. They were the earthquake, the wildfire that cleared deadwood, the disruption that redirected you toward your true path, the spark that illuminated the life waiting for you beyond them. Carl Jung captured this perfectly when he spoke of encounters that shake open the psyche, moments that force us to face the parts of ourselves we've hidden in shadow. These experiences aren't meant to stay forever. They are meant to transform us. Some relationships exist not to fulfill us, but to reveal us. They uncover the layers we've been ignoring, suppressing, or denying beneath politeness, fear, and performance. This person showed you how deep you could feel, how much devotion and intensity you were capable of holding, and in doing so, they honored the sacred contract with your soul. The connection was real, the intensity undeniable, and the transformation irreversible. But that doesn't mean they were meant to remain in your life beyond the season of their teaching. Often, we mistake the depth of the lesson for the permanence of the teacher. Spiritual truth doesn't operate like romantic expectation. Not everyone who illuminates your life is meant to walk beside you in the light. Some hand you the lamp and disappear into the darkness they came from. Your task is not to follow them back, but to carry the light forward, to integrate what they revealed. Pain holds gifts. Heartbreak hides lessons so tightly woven that the wound itself becomes inseparable from the wisdom it delivered. It's time to name what this person gave you, even as they took so much away. They showed your strength by testing it, by pushing you to the edges you didn't know you had, and seeing if you would fall or find footing. Every moment you survived, disappointment, broken promises, feeling unseen, built resilience you'll carry into every relationship that follows. They taught you boundaries by crossing them, showing you what it feels like when your needs aren't honored, when your limits aren't respected, when your heart is treated as anything less than sacred. In those violations, they planted the seeds of refusal, the refusal to accept such treatment again. They revealed your worth by undervaluing it, creating a stark contrast between what you deserved and what you received, so you could no longer rationalize, minimize, or excuse settling for less. This is the terrible grace of relationships that diminish us. They finally, undeniably show us what we will no longer tolerate. That clarity becomes a compass, guiding us toward those who will cherish what was once overlooked. They taught you that love without reciprocity isn't love, but performance. That intensity without consistency isn't connection, but chaos. That potential without actualization isn't promise, but fantasy. These lessons could not have been learned from someone who loved you well. This relationship was a spiritual curriculum, each painful chapter a required course in self-knowledge, self-respect, and self-reclamation. They weren't the villain, they were the agent of your initiation. Their inability to meet you became the catalyst for learning to meet yourself. Closure doesn't come from their words, apologies, or acknowledgement. It's already embedded in everything you've become. The lesson is complete, not because they changed, but because you finally did. They cannot love you the way you need to be loved, and recognizing that impossibility is what sets you free. They simply don't have the emotional framework, the psychological growth, or the spiritual maturity to give you the kind of love you need. No amount of your effort can build in them what they haven't already built in themselves. You've been loving at a level of consciousness they haven't reached, speaking a language of depth they don't yet understand, offering a presence they aren't capable of receiving or returning. This isn't a judgment of their worth, it's an honest recognition of where they are on their journey, and where they are is not where you are. The distance between the two of you isn't something you can close by loving harder or waiting longer. Some people are still learning lessons you mastered years ago, still making mistakes you've already paid the price for, still operating from wounds you've already healed. You cannot drag someone across that gap by sheer devotion. You've outgrown this dynamic, even if you haven't fully admitted it yet. Even if acknowledging it feels like betraying the investment you've made in making this work. Growth isn't always about addition. Sometimes it's about subtraction. Shedding connections that once fit but now constrain. Releasing people you love but cannot afford to keep in your closest spaces. This isn't about giving up on them or labeling them as bad. It's honoring the truth that love alone is not enough when it exists without compatibility, without reciprocity, without the ability to build something sustainable for both hearts. You fell in love with who they could become, with glimpses of potential glimpsed in moments of vulnerability, clarity, or generosity, believing that if you just stayed long enough, loved hard enough, and proved yourself enough, that potential would become reality. This is the trap of unfulfilled love, believing that seeing someone's highest self is enough to make it manifest, thinking that your vision of their potential can replace their actual commitment to growth. But potential is not a person, it's only possibility. Possibility without action is a story we tell ourselves to justify staying where we starve emotionally. You cannot evolve someone who hasn't chosen their own growth, cannot heal wounds they refuse to face, cannot build a future with someone hiding from their present. The radiant version of them you fell in love with exists mostly in your imagination, in those fleeting moments when they almost meet it, before returning to the patterns that feel safe, familiar, and aligned with who they've chosen to be. If you're ready to stop waiting for potential to become reality, subscribe. If you're ready to love people as they are rather than as you wish they would be, to stop giving your pearls to those who cannot recognize their worth. Every day spent hoping someone will change is a day you don't spend with someone who already meets you fully, sees you, and cherishes you exactly as you are. The universe isn't asking you to erase their potential. It's asking you to stop sacrificing your life for it, to stop putting your reality on hold while they catch up to a version of themselves they may never inhabit. Every moment you stay tethered to someone who cannot meet you is a moment you cannot fully meet yourself, cannot fully embrace the opportunities, people, and love waiting for you. This is the hidden cost of clinging, missed doors, withered possibilities, and futures that never bloom because your hope is anchored in a garden that refuses to grow. Every day you wait for them to change is a day you delay meeting your true match. The person who is out there, waiting, hoping, perhaps wondering if they will ever find someone who sees them fully, just as you once saw someone who could not see you, is moving somewhere in the vast choreography of human connection. There are people coming toward you who will not make you question your worth, will not leave you passing breadcrumbs for signs of attention, will not demand that you shrink yourself to fit into the small spaces they offer. But you cannot receive them while your hands are still full of someone who keeps dropping you. You cannot hear their call while straining to interpret the silence of someone who will never speak. Every ounce of energy poured into an unfulfilled connection is energy stolen from your own growth, your projects, passions, and potential. While you tend to someone who does not tend to you, you betray yourself repeatedly, rationalizing treatment you'd never accept from a friend, and slowly losing sight of the person you were meant to become. Walking away is not giving up, it is growing up. It is not surrender but discernment, not failure but a profound success for anyone who loves themselves enough to stop accepting a love that feels like starvation. There is a spiritual courage required to release what is familiar but unfulfilling, to choose the uncertainty of what might come over the safety of what is not working, to honor yourself enough to close the door on connections that keep you small, stuck, and separate from your highest unfolding. The universe has been clearing this path, sending signs, synchronicities, and opportunities to exit gracefully, yet each open door was read as a test of loyalty rather than an invitation to liberation. You must release the wrong one to make room for the right one. This isn't metaphorical, it's energetic law. What you cling to cannot leave, and what you release may return transformed or may not return at all. Both outcomes are blessings because both restore your sovereignty. As long as you hold space for someone who cannot fill it, you block new connections, new possibilities, and the love that is ready to reach you. Letting go creates the energetic vacuum that the universe rushes to fill, but first you must make the space. You must stand in the emptiness long enough for something new to emerge. This isn't about whether they deserve another chance, whether you are too harsh, or whether you will regret it in the quiet hours. It's about listening to the deepest voice inside, the one whispering beneath all your rationalizations, justifications, and desperate attempts to make this work. That voice says clearly, "This is not it. This is not the love you are meant to settle for. This is not the relationship that will nourish your becoming." Walking away honors that voice finally and fully, stopping the denial that hope had fermented into. Carl Jung said we cannot change anything until we accept it. And perhaps what must be accepted now is that this connection has given all it could. It has taken you as far as it was meant to take you, and the next leg of your journey requires you to travel alone until you meet the companion who matches your pace. The moment you release them, not with anger but with acceptance, not with bitterness but with blessing, your energy shifts, your field rearranges, and the universe can finally move on your behalf in ways it could not while you were still holding on. There is a unique kind of magic that happens when you stop forcing and start allowing, when you stop chasing and start choosing yourself, when you stop waiting for someone else to grant you permission to live fully and instead grant it to yourself. The very act of letting go sends a signal into the field of all possibility, announcing that you are ready now for what is real, not what is potential, for love that doesn't require begging, proving, or waiting endlessly to be deemed enough. Space must exist before it can be filled, and you have been so full of them, of the relationship, of hope and heartbreak, that there has been no room for anything new to enter. Releasing them, energetically detaching, and calling your energy back from where it was scattered, makes you available in a way you haven't been since the moment you met them. When you do this, you become magnetic to alignment, to connections that feel natural, to people who see you clearly, to love that flows without struggle or constant effort. If you are ready to stop waiting and start walking, if the truth of these words resonates in the part of you that has been waiting for permission to leave, share this message. They may return transformed by your absence, humbled by what they once took for granted, or they may not. Either way, you will discover that their absence was the gift. The space they left open became the doorway for your real life to enter. You do not need their apology or recognition to close this chapter. Closure comes from within, from the moment you decide your healing does not require them. Your peace does not depend on their understanding, and you can write the ending of this story without their consent. The person may never see what they lost, may never recognize the gift they discarded, may never reach the consciousness to comprehend your devotion, and that is not your responsibility. Your liberation is yours to claim. You cannot grow, heal, or become who you are meant to be while tethered to someone who needs you to remain the person you were. Closure is claiming your own authority, deciding the story is complete, not because it ended as you wanted, but because you are done writing chapters in a book they abandoned long ago. You release them from the role you cast them in, accept that they were never meant to be your forever, and bless the lessons while refusing to enroll in remedial courses of pain. The power has always been yours. You were just waiting for permission to use it, and now you see you don't need anyone's permission when you are sovereign. On the other side of this release is a future you cannot yet imagine, a life so different that you will look back and understand why the universe refused to let you settle, why doors kept closing, why this person could never be enough. Someone is coming who will not make you question your worth, will not leave you decoding messages, will not require you to shrink yourself to fit their limited capacity for connection. This pain was preparation, the refining fire that burned away your tolerance for half-love, almost commitment and potential that never materialized. When your true match arrives, you will recognize them by how natural, easy, and free the connection feels, without the anxiety, confusion, and constant negotiation that defined this one. Your real love story is just beginning, even if you cannot yet see it from the wreckage of this one. Even if it feels impossible to open your heart again after it has been so deeply wounded. But you will, because that is what hearts do when they are loved properly. They heal, expand, and become capable of even more depth and devotion than before. Thank this person silently for the lesson, for showing you what you do not want, so that you immediately recognize what you do. For loving you poorly enough that you finally learn to love yourself well. Then walk forward without looking back, without checking if they are watching, without waiting for them to call. Your next chapter does not include them, and that is not a tragedy. It is a triumph. Not an ending, but the beginning of everything you have been unknowingly preparing for.